Hi, this is Emily Saliers from Indigo Girls, and you're listening to Rainbow Country.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, the QUEER Contingency from Canada's Ultimate Challenge. Plus, my Big Brother Canada coverage continues with the first evicted house guest. That and more on episode 345, so stay tuned. The Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hello, my name is Conchita.
And I'm Barbecue.
And my name is Hardcora. And we are the B Girls.
You're listening to
Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to yet another journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT FM in Toronto and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the east coast of Canada in Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together, we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's gay and lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as Canada's #2 LGBT podcast on feedspot.com. So today, 3 queer contestants from CBC's latest competition challenge, Canada's Ultimate Challenge, what I'm calling the QUEER Contingency. Realtor, Dustin Seidler. Fitness influencer and business owner, Donkers, plus fitness instructor, Stiva Sinanan. These 3 individuals join me to talk about their experience on Canada's Ultimate Challenge, what it was like, where they went, the challenges, and so much more. Plus, my Big Brother Canada coverage continues with the first evicted house guest. Plus, in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. And on this episode, I'm featuring some ladies of the 80s, some queer Caribbean, and more. All that lies ahead as we start Journey 345 through Rainbow Country. And our first stop, Rainbow Country's Music Alley, with music columnist and reviewer Matthew Ellerbeck, who shares his thoughts on Troye Sivan's 2020 single, Stud.
It's Stud. You can come and meet me out front. You got all the muscles and the features I want, and I want what I want, my love. It's tough, what's it like to be so big and strong and so buff? Everything I'm not, but could I still be a hunk to you? Enough, yeah, a start to you.
On today's episode, I will be talking about Troye Sivan's 2020 song, Stud. A lot of the media, both music and movies, that focuses on LGBT plus individuals often centers on coming of age and coming out stories. And although these narratives are certainly important, it is also crucial for art to explore other aspects of our lives. This is why Troye Sivan's Stud is significant. Here we have a track from an openly gay artist that explores the complexities of attraction, desire, and hookup culture. Lyrically, the song opens with Troye conveying to the person he's interested in just how appealing he finds him, even being so enthusiastic as stating, "You got all the muscles and the features I want." The next lines are interesting, though, as they reference the other side of desire, that is not simply the lusting after someone, but the wondering if such feelings are returned. Does this person feel the same about me? With Troye then asking, what's it like to be so big and strong and so buff? Everything I'm not, but could I still be a hunk to you, enough for you, a stud to you? This is quite compelling, as aspects of gay culture are very centered around sex and surface appearances, so much so that it can certainly stir up feelings of inadequacy in some people. Troye's vulnerable lyrics of asking, "Could I be enough for you?" and wondering, "Could this person find me attractive?" is a situation many gay males can relate to. He further touches on this when he states, "Just let me believe that you like what you're seeing when you're looking at me." In 2017, the Huffington Post published an article entitled "The Epidemic of Gay Loneliness." Later in the track Stud, the words delve into another area of hookup culture that goes beyond mere recreational fun, with Troye stating, "Searching for something I'm not, knowing that you're not the one, but you're the one for right now." These words touch on the fact that sometimes hookups are used as a way to temporarily fight off the feeling of being alone. Stud at surface level is a dreamy electropop song that lyrically touches on some of the facets that gay people deal with, navigating through life and love, whether it's feelings of being insecure, feeling not enough for someone, wondering if people feel the same about us, or battling loneliness. Be sure to check out Troye Sivan's Stud on Spotify or YouTube. I'm music columnist and reviewer Matthew Ellerbeck, and you can find me at MatthewTalksMusic.net.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tewksbury, Olympic champion, leader, humanitarian. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Up next, the first evicted house guest from Big Brother Canada Season 11.
House guests, I have the results. 11 of you voted. One house guest received 11 votes, and as a result is about to be evicted. Renee, you are safe. Congratulations. John Michael, sorry, you've been evicted from the Big Brother Canada Manor. Please get your things and say your goodbyes.
John Michael, hello, hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I am well. Okay. Girl, you just got evicted from the Big Brother Canada house unanimously.
She got, really. She got.
The vote, unanimous. Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I knew it from the moment we sat down. You kind of get a really good feel of where the votes are going to go. And I think it was just at this point in the game, you know, it's week 1. Like, it was just too risky for people. And I hate to say that people are playing a scared game right now. And I don't really think that really captures where people's minds are at. But it would have been the safest choice to send me home instead of starting this rebellion. But man, would that have been really good TV if you think about it? Like, oh my gosh, I was really rallying up the troops. Like, oh God, what a fantasy.
So let's talk about that first HOH competition, head of household competition. Yourself and Santina were paired together. You helped Santina. She ultimately won that competition. You helped her. You both said that you would keep each other safe, yet she nominated you. She backdoored you, and here we are today. Why do you think Santina nominated you, backdoored you?
I have some controversial takes on this, but yeah, look, first off, I do believe that someone got into her head, and you know, it would be, again, really naive for me to think that this was all Santina's masterful plan to really backdoor me from the very beginning. I think the seed was planted and enough water placed on that seed, and with the paranoia that you feel in the house, it was enough to pull off this back door. But also controversially, I think, like, just in life in general, when you are different, if you would, and you showcase strength, a lot of people will look at that as a threat versus an ally. And it really did come to a surprise for me in the very beginning. Like, why me? There are so many other people here that showcase strength as well and mental capacities to win this game. Why me? Why me? Why me? And it was actually really, really difficult to process why I was the chosen sacrificial lamb, if you would, you know.
So, quote, "If I win HOH, the guys are going up," unquote. This is a quote of yours that you said in, I believe, in the
Escándalo.
In the pantry. You said it to Zach. Why did you tell Zach that you would target the guys?
So I haven't watched the episodes yet, but when I was having this freak out with Zach, okay, I was actually, so Zach marinated me. I feel like a piece of meat, call me a steak if you would, but I was marinated by Zachary. Like, he really made me feel safe. And I thought I was talking to a friend, and I was having this like really awful day where I was thinking like, oh my gosh, she's going to put me up on the block. Like, I really feel this. And in this moment of heat, I was, you know, talking to him, and I was like, I feel like Santina is going to put me up. And it's so weird because I would rather first I would rather go up against the guys than her, is really what I was trying to communicate in that moment. And the wrong thing stuck. I really didn't think that Zach would take it that way, like, genuinely. So if it was the catalyst to my demise, it's a catalyst of my demise. But ultimately that was my truth, right? Like, that's exactly what I wanted to do. That was the masterful plan, if you would. Just, I didn't think Zach to be grouped in that category, because Zach and I did have a good connection in the house. I mean, after the fact, I realize now that he was so threatened by me. Oof, well, that's a whole different conversation. We can gab about that later. But he was just so threatened, and he had to take extreme measures to take me out, and that's fine. I'll take it as a compliment.
So, who do you feel most betrayed by, let down by, Santina or Zach?
Santina really disappointed me. I was like, I really, in that bedroom, when she came in and sat down, and I was asking her, why exactly did you put me up? Why? And she couldn't give me a straight answer. And I straight up was just like speaking from the heart. And I said, like, in everything that I presented and who I am and what I believe in, do you really, really think that I would go up against a powerful woman? Like, is that not, like, have I not said enough to say that I would support you in everything that you're doing, everything that you are? It was so bewildering to me And it was like, get it together, girl. Like, I have such high expectations, and this is not meeting the standards of who I thought you were. And so, yeah, I do feel the most jaded by Santina. I'm not even going to say I love her, but no, I don't. In this moment right now, I need to settle those thoughts. But like, it was just poor play. Like, and again, it just goes back to like, why me? There are other strong players, and I just feel like I was like, I was put on this like spotlight that, I'm not even going to get to that, but I think everyone's sniffing what I'm stepping on, and that's enough to say. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of speculation on that as well, but we'll see. I don't want to speak on her behalf. I'm sure she'll have words when she's out next week. Or the week after, but she can't win.
Did you have a strategy going into the game originally?
I did. Honestly, it's so funny because I found myself doing everything I didn't want to do. Like, I wanted to go in and I didn't want to win the first competition, right? I wanted to really fly under the radar. I didn't want to tell people who I was really in general. Like, I really wanted to pretend like I was just like this, like, bubbly. I don't know what does HOH stand for? Like, what does that even mean? But as I'm walking through the doors, I was thinking to myself, I was like, if I do this and I end up walking out week 1, I would have so much regrets. I would have so many regrets about how I perceived myself to Canada, to people who potentially were rooting for me and supporting me. My friends, my family would have looked at that and been like, that's so weird in a sense, but in that moment that those doors open, I run in and I scream, and everyone saw me doing a little swimming in the kitchen. I just promised myself to just be as authentic as I can be. And I have no regrets doing that, and am happy that it played out that way. I feel the love and support, and it really, I spoke my truth, and I love that. I love that it translated to people in a positive way.
So, John Michael, this is a gay radio show, and from what I could tell, yourself and Daniel Clark are both members of the LGBT community. Was there any talk at the beginning of the game of, the two gays working together, looking out for each other, anything like that?
So we definitely had mutual respect for each other. I mean, there was no way I was going to ever target Daniel. Like, that would just be so backwards in so many ways to me. We never had an official conversation about the gays should not go up against the gays. Like, that's not what we wanted. And Daniel, being a fan of the show, he knew how things would play out. And we did have like this tender moment where I had to speak some truth in him. And I was reminding him like the way that Zach was treating him, and how people were like, oh, you're so cuddly. Let me give you a hug. I'm like, girl, you're being marinated. Like, I don't know if you realize you're being marinated. And at one point, there's this moment in the house where I was just like, I need to just chill and listen to people talking. And I'm sitting there, and everyone was like, everyone in the room was talking about the people in the house, and Daniel wasn't there. And they were like, oh, this is the queen, this is the king. And Zach called Daniel a jester. And I'm like, that is so becoming of you, Zach, like very classy. And I was like, I don't feel right being even part of this conversation, whether he meant what he meant or not. I'm like, this is exactly what I mean. Like, and I wish I told Daniel that, but I think it would have been a lot more damaging to his confidence than anything else. And I'm sure I'll have to talk to him about it, and what it feels wrong that I kept that from him. But ultimately, instead of telling him the details of how people were talking about him, I really, really wanted him to just don't be naive. Like, remind yourself what's happening here. Like, we've seen the show over and over and over again. We know what's happening. and rally with me. And I spoke to him as a player too, right? Like, even though as queer folk, we want to stick together and we are, our chosen family. And I love that about us. My campaign to him was that I would never look at that as a freebie, right? That I respect him as a player, as an individual, and that my whole thing in life is that you are a person before you are anything else. Daniel is my friend. And that's how I would introduce him to the world, because Daniel comes first before he was my friend. And I'm excited to see him outside of these walls. He's actually really, really funny and super, 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 super fun to be around. Just emulates like joy in everything that he does. And I'm so excited to see how he performs. And it was quite inspiring actually seeing him in the veto competition. I cried about it in the DR. So I don't think you guys got to see that, but I was so inspired by him.
So I just have a handful of seconds left with you, John Michael. But my last question, best part about being part of Big Brother Canada Season 11?
The best part of being part of Big Brother Season 11, the cast, say what you will, but our cast was so delicious. I'm so sorry to the other house guests. We're the best looking cast. I will put up a Twitter post about this, and we can do a whole poll. But I'm telling you now, season 11, delicioso.
John Michael, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Big Brother Canada airs Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern. And Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern on Global TV. And for even more on Big Brother Canada, especially those digital dailies, simply visit bigbrothercanada.ca.
Hi, I'm Keegan Hurst, former professional rugby player, coach, raving homosexual, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Realtor Dustin Seidler, fitness influencer and business owner Donkers, plus fitness instructor Stiva Sinanan. Up next, Canada's Ultimate Challenge. Dustin, Stiva, hello to you all. Hi, how are you all doing?
Doing fantastic.
You're doing fantastic. Stiva, how are you?
I'll echo that with a little bit of fabulous as well.
You're fabulous. Dustin?
It's great. Everything's wonderful.
I have to say, thank you all for being here, to have your voices, your stories be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that. So my first question for all of you, and it's simply this. Are you a fan of reality TV? Dustin, let's start with yourself. Are you a fan of reality TV?
I'm a huge fan of reality TV. It was my dream to be on reality TV ever since I was a little kid. I've been applying for years to get on reality TV. So huge fan, love Survivor, love Big Brother, and obviously I'm biased, but Canada's Ultimate Challenge is my favorite.
Stiva, are you a fan of reality TV?
I'm definitely a fan of reality TV. Anything that involves like physical or fitness challenges in particular, but also baking ones as well. But I watch a variety of them, makeup ones, the fashion ones, I watch them all. And now I have more of an idea what it feels like to be on the shows because we were on the show.
For yourself, are you a fan of reality TV?
Yes, I'm definitely a fan of reality TV. Like Stiva, I like it all. I watch the competitions. I watch The Perfect Match. I watch basically anything and everything. And yeah, it's always been a dream to be on one. So to actually live the experience is really cool. But yeah, watch it all, binge it. with my partner all the time.
So I think it's fair to say that being a fan of reality TV, that's one thing. Being on reality TV is a whole other reality unto itself. The three of you are on Canada's Ultimate Challenge. Stiva, let's start with yourself. Why did you want to apply for this particular show? Why Canada's Ultimate Challenge? Why did you want to be on this?
Well, I work in the fitness industry, so this is right up my alley, doing physical challenges and in a competition like that. But also I wanted to show representation for the queer BIPOC community. I'm all about representation. That's kind of how I teach my classes. That's how I kind of live my life. And it's when you see yourself represented in things and things you don't think your people in particular would be doing, it gives you an idea that maybe I could try too. So really for me, it was all about showing that my people can do it too. And anybody can do it as well.
And Em, for yourself, why did you want to be on this particular show, Canada's Ultimate Challenge?
Yeah, for me, it was in the same vein as Stiva, so wanting to challenge myself and see what I was capable of, but also to represent the queer and especially the trans community and show that we are very much capable, we're strong, successful people, and we can basically do anything that we set our mind to, just like everyone else. And also to see what I could do, stepping it more into that male role or to that, because I had to fulfill that more masculine spot on my team, I wanted to see how I could step up into that light and into myself too.
And Dustin, for yourself, same question.
Yeah, again, both what Em and Stiva said, the representation, for that small town gay boy that is afraid to step into the locker room, that is afraid to, be on a sports team in a team full of maybe toxic masculinity where they don't feel like they belong, to show them that it's okay to be masculine, but also to let your freak flag fly and just have fun with, who you are and what you bring to the table. And also to, put Saskatchewan on the map for reality TV. There hasn't been a lot of Saskatchewan representation in any reality TV. And so I definitely wanted to do that. And I think it was just a really cool opportunity to take a brand new format of a show that has endless possibility, and to be part of a premiere season of it like this is just something that, we will remember for the rest of our lives. And I think it's such a cool and unique opportunity. And how couldn't I say yes?
Dustin, you mentioned earlier that you were a fan of Big Brother Canada.
Yes.
I cover Big Brother Canada. I do exit interviews for Big Brother Canada. Will you be watching season 11?
Absolutely. Let's watch it. I'm going to watch it. It's just starting, right?
It is. It is. And Dustin, talk to me about the challenges on the show. How difficult, how challenging were these challenges?
So at first, I was kind of like, I was wondering about how hard they were going to be. And when you first see them, it's like, okay, like this is okay. And then you do it. And I've just never, like when they say that they're pushing you to your absolute limit, they did. Like I'd never been more tired from some of the challenges that I did, where I was on the ground for 30 minutes after an event and I just was completely gassed, blacked out. I've never done that before. I've never been pushed to that level of excellence before, I guess you could say. And it was just so crazy to feel the burn and to feel the intensity that each of the challenges brought. And I mean, we may look back and it looks easy, and people sitting at home can say, "Oh, that's so easy." But I'd like to see you try, because at the end of the day, it's a burner and it hurts.
Mm. And Stiva,
so they were hard.
Stiva, for the shoot for the show, how long did you guys film for?
It was 5 weeks.
And how were those 5 weeks for you? Did you find the challenges really challenging, like Dustin was just talking about?
So the trajectory on my show is completely different than the rest of the cast. I can speak up to what's been aired, episode 3. So I got COVID early on in production. So I actually at this point till episode 3 have only done one challenge and am only in one episode. So for me, enduring the challenge was amazing for the first thing I got to do, which was amazing running up a hill in Whistler. But for me, it was being able to put myself in a good mental health space to know that my whole cast gets to go do stuff and I have to not be there with them. So it was a bit of a different piece for me than the rest of the cast. So I didn't get to do the physical challenges, but I'll tell you, I went through a hell of a lot of mental health challenges. And the cast was awesome and the production was awesome and helping me through that. And but for the 5 weeks, it was awesome. Like none of the cast never ever made me feel like I wasn't there with them. Even though I was not going to set with them, I got to hang out with them in the evening and I got to know them better at that point. I did miss some of the camaraderie that goes on during the day, which is a big chunk of what you're doing during the day when you film reality shows. But I'm not someone who focuses on the negative aspect of it. It was boohooey for a while for me, but then what can I make possible for myself? And you can still get to know people. And who knows, maybe I'll be showing back up in an episode. I don't know. Do you know? Who knows? We'll have to keep watching Canada's Ultimate Challenge on Thursdays at 8 o'clock on CBC and CBC Gem.
Well said. Well said.
I love you, Stiva.
That was amazing.
For yourself, talk to me about the locations. Where did you guys go film at? Do the competitions at? Talk to me about some of the locations.
Yeah, so basically we turned Canada into a giant obstacle course. So we're traveling all around this amazing country and got to go to BC and Alberta and in Ontario, up in the Yukon, and some other locations that we haven't really gotten to yet, but it was amazing getting to travel so much. And, basically every 4 days we were in a new location. We get time to settle and then film basically the next 3 days before we carried on again to the next. But they were all so amazing and beautiful for their own reasons, and getting to explore them with the cast and do these amazing challenges around Canada and on these mountaintops and off these suspension bridges and these rushing rivers up in the Yukon. It was gorgeous and just an incredible experience of a lifetime. And yeah, we'll never be able to say we could do that again. So to do it with our entire cast, and yeah, it was just such a cool adventure.
I'm interested to know, this is for all of you, and whoever wants to chime in, please do, but going to these different locations, have you guys ever been to some of these locations before? Like say the Yukon or BC or the East Coast or what have you? Have you guys been to these locations in Canada before?
I had been to some of them, but I'd never been up to the Yukon territories at all. So that was, yeah. And just all the different, landscapes with the mountains and then the desert and then the rolling hills. And it was just a bit of everything. It was cool.
How about you, Stiva?
I hadn't been to any of those locations either. The one thing I was really happy to go to was Whitehorse. That was really awesome. And experience what sunlight is at 1 a.m. in the morning, and because the sun doesn't go down there really in the summertime. So it was, to Em's point, echoing Em's point, to see all the different landscapes. Every 3 or 4 days, we were looking at something else, which was really cool. And really good way to see Canada. Be a great opportunity and privilege to see Canada that way.
And how about yourself, Dustin?
Yeah, so I'd been, from Saskatchewan. I'd been to Alberta and BC quite a bit. The specific locations within BC, Squamish, I'd never been to. Whistler, I'd never been to. So it was cool to see that. But for me, it was Whitehorse. Being able to see Whitehorse, that's something that I wouldn't have probably ever done in my life. Just because there are so many places in the world, and sometimes we forget to travel Canada. So it was a really cool and unique opportunity to get to go to some places that I never would have planned to go to. But I hope that Canadians now see the true beauty of what we got to see and do, and maybe make a trip there for themselves to explore some of the areas that we got to see. Like the Yukon River is just something that's so incredible.
And on that note, we'll return after this Rainbow Country update.
Hi, I'm Garrett Conley, author of Boy Erased, a memoir.
You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Canadian Film Fest, an indie-spirited film festival dedicated to celebrating Canadian films. This festival runs both in person at Toronto's Scotiabank Theatre and virtually on Super Channel Fuse, March 28th to April 1st. This year's festival features a number of LGBT films, including When Time Got Louder, Golden Delicious, and Polarized. There are also a number of LGBT short films, as well as a queer series. Canadian Film Fest runs both in person and virtually March 28th to April 1st. And for more information, simply visit canfilmfest.ca. If you are in the Toronto area, maybe you want to check out Canadian Film Fest in person, or another film that's opening at the TIFF Bell Lightbox. The Five Devils, a movie that tells a witchy and wild fantasy of family secrets and queer romance. Here's a bit about the film. 8-year-old Vicky lives with her mother Joanne and father Jimmy. When Vicky's aunt, Julia, arrives after being released from prison, Julia's presence brings back the past in a violent, queer, and magical way. The Five Devils opens at the TIFF Bell Lightbox Friday, March 24th. For more information, simply visit tiff.net.
Hi there, I'm Bennett Singer, a documentary filmmaker and the co-director of the new film Cured. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
So, again, another question for all of you. You're all part of the LGBT community. Being part of the LGBT community and representing, was that important for each of you when you were going on to Canada's Ultimate Challenge? Was that something that you wanted to bring to the table, you representing the LGBT community? Stiva, let's start with yourself. Was that important for you?
It was important for me from the moment of go of the application process, because I am who I am. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I, like I said earlier, I'm all about representation. So I lead that way. And so it was really important for me to show up in the space 100% authentically and genuinely who I am. So it was a big piece for me, as well as the queer piece, as well as being a brown man of color as well. In that space, in my intersectionality and all of its fabulousness.
And for yourself, you are part of the LGBT community. You're also trans. Talk to me about if this was important for you to represent all the aspects of yourself and bring that to Canadian television.
Yeah, it was extremely important to me. It was, if not, like half of the reason why I wanted to do it, not only for the challenges and everything, but also to represent my community and continue to advocate for my community. And that's what I do every day online, is wear my heart on my sleeve and just really try to be the representation and visibility for the trans community. And even within that community, breaking it down with using whatever pronouns you want, using whatever name you want, identifying how you want, and just kind of debunking any stigma or any stereotypes that come with even just being trans. So that was a huge thing for me. And just to show that, you know, I can keep up with a lot of the other AMABs or assigned male at birth. And I think that was really cool for me to experience and to show to everyone watching at home that may be inspired by me or see themselves in me, that they can do it too.
And Dustin, for yourself, was it important for you to represent being a gay man, being part of the LGBT community? Was that important for you going on to Canada's Ultimate Challenge?
It was extremely important for me. Exactly what Stiva and Em said again. The representation is just so important. I mentioned it earlier in the call about, just having some young gay individual in a small town feeling scared, not enough, to be able to see that they can go out and do this. And also just to show like the masculine side of the gay community. It's so often that, Drag Race is so so important. And even with watching the show right now, the gay audience is, not as high as I would like it in my opinion. But it's important for other masculine gay men to see that there is space for them in a relatively dominant straight world of sport. And, just to be able to represent that side of my fitness and what I have to bring, I think is just so important to me. And I do have to say, like, the queer representation on the show was so empowering. And, coming from Saskatchewan to be able to share, Em and I had conversations about, the trans community and educated me while we were out on the trans community. And now I'm able to go out and educate my friends and family back home in Saskatchewan and in Toronto and be able to, just say like, this is their story and, be able to answer the questions for whoever has them, because now it's just opened it up to an even bigger space. So for me, this is absolutely everything. And I love the progression forward in sport with, the LGBTQ community. And I think it's really special.
I think the show gave us the opportunity to show up in this space authentically as we are. And it gives people the opportunity to see that you can show up in these spaces, which are often a show like this, to Dustin's point, is really like a bro culture type of show, which is not a bad thing. Those people are great. They have lots of great attributes. But the LGBT community can show up at that space and hold their own, as Canada is being as well. So the representation gives people the courage.
I have to give a big shout out to the cast, crew, everyone, production. They were so on it in terms of asking my pronouns all the time, or even just labeling the bathrooms, like anyone can use it, it's just a bathroom kind of thing. And, Mike Yerksa coming up to me and saying, like, if anything ever happens, you come to me and you talk to me. So having that support from the production and crew was huge too. So huge shout out and love to them.
So before you actually got onto the show, were you apprehensive at all about whether or not this is going to be, a really inclusive space for all of you? Did any of you have any apprehension before you actually started filming and becoming part of the show? Any apprehension at all?
I didn't have any apprehension, but I'd say when you exist in marginalized spaces, sometimes when you go into a group type of setting like this, you're like, oh, am I going to be the only one? Am I going to be the diversity thing? Am I going to be the gay one? Am I going to be the brown gay one? Whatever. But I'll tell you to Em's point, Mike Yerksa, the casting producer, he did an amazing job. When you walked into that room, I'll say, and I told him this many times, and I've told the production, I've never exhaled like that ever in my entire life of 47 years, almost 48, of walking into a space and just being myself from the moment get-go. When I walked in, there were many people of color, there were many queer people, all different types of people. And I'll always remember that from the whole experience, whatever it's been for me, is I was allowed to exhale for the first time in my entire life. Sorry.
Well said. Well said, Whitney Houston. Shoop, shoop. Okay, so my understanding, Dustin, is that you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro?
Yes.
Okay, you climbed Kilimanjaro, but you also got banned from a gay dodgeball league for being too competitive?
Yes.
Okay, so how do you get banned from a gay dodgeball league for being too competitive? What does too competitive look like?
Yeah, so this is such a great question, and I'm happy that you're, bring light to it, because we didn't really talk about it a lot on the show. And I think, basically the story is I was in a dodgeball league, and it was my second season in the league. And there's one specific player in the league that prides himself on taking the last place team to championship every single year. And for 9 seasons, he had won the championship every single year. And so the second year we played, we stacked our team, brought on some really great players, and we defeated him. And he was such a poor sport and was so, just terrible about the whole entire game. Like the entire time he was losing, he was just so bitter. And we were walking after, so we won the championship. And we were walking to like the after party, which is a bar just nearby the gym we're playing. And of course, I'm like, I'm proud. I'm proud that we just won this trophy and we just knocked this guy off his high horse, because that's not fun. People aren't having fun playing against you. And so I'm like, kind of singing like we are the champions and being proud of winning and maybe being a little bit cocky about it, and he asked, one of the other guys on our team was carrying the trophy, and he said, "Hey, can I see that trophy?" And so he took the trophy and he threw it into a construction site and shattered the trophy. So we get to the bar with the trophy in shambles, and everyone's like, "What the hell happened?" And they're like, "Oh, they pissed off so and so because he lost." And it just so happened that he is one of the organizers and basically said, if Dustin returns, the league is like, I won't play in the league. And so they had no choice but to ban me from the league. And so, it came from a competitive nature. I think that we brought a level of competitiveness, and he just had it out for me. And at the end of the day, I was asked not to return. And now I play in a different dodgeball league, and it's better.
Do you wear your banishment as a badge of honor?
I don't. I was extremely embarrassed about it, to be honest with you. And when I applied to The Amazing Race a few years back, they loved that aspect. They're like, that just says so much about your like competitiveness and, and so that has been something that in all of my interviews with Mike, that's always something that gets brought up. And it's like something that I couldn't avoid. And it's something that went on my bio, like nobody else's bio, I don't know, had that kind of intensity, I guess. So to me, I was really embarrassed, but now I'm just like stepping into it and owning it and just, really just, it is what it is. And it, like, at the end of the day, like me being too competitive and, I think a lot of people that are really competitive and do sport would have been in the same position as me. And I have a big personality, so it just seems more intense, but I meant no harm. Like and at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I don't wear it as a badge of honor, but it's got me into a door that I will never forget. So I don't think if they knew that fact that I would have been asked to be on this show. And so that's a really cool opportunity. And the fact that it came to surface is out of my control, but it is what it is. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Well said. Well said. You are transgender. You're also gender non-binary. My understanding is that you're working to try and eliminate obstacles for queer people when it comes to sports. Talk to me about that, and how does that play out?
Yeah, so what I do for work primarily is helping the queer community build the body meant for them. So as we were saying earlier, with sport and fitness, it can be very toxic masculinity and just very much so binary in terms of extremes with how women should look and how men should look. And so I never identified with that and took it upon myself to do my own research and kind of built the body that I had always wanted. And as I continued to post that on socials, people took to it and they were very much interested or saw themselves in me. And then it just kind of started to snowball from there. And I've been posting since 2017 now. And I really, just try to help the queer community and trans people build the body that they've maybe always wanted and not known how to achieve it. And so I really try to work with them and train them and really try to, just break down barriers within fitness and how we should look, I guess.
Easy, challenging? How are you finding it?
It has its ups and downs.
Trying to break down those barriers.
Yeah, and just, being online and being very vulnerable and just putting myself out there constantly. I'm, more susceptible to more scrutiny and trolls and things like that. So it can be tough. And I've gone through challenging periods, but then I'm constantly reminded why I'm doing this, because I hear these super powerful, compelling stories from people that have told me I've changed their life, or I've inspired them to get top surgery, or, they've talked to their partner about questioning their gender. Just anything like that is so rewarding for me. And those are what keep me motivated and keep me doing what I do.
Well said. Well said. Stiva, you have done a 6-day ride from Toronto to Montreal raising money for charity. Why is it important for you to give back? Talk to me about the importance of giving back for you.
So just to put it in context, I actually know Dustin from that. The Friends for Life bike rally that supports the PWA in Toronto, People with AIDS Foundation. They help support and provide services for people living with AIDS in Toronto and Kingston and Montreal. The community has given me so much in general and embracing me and being in the fitness industry. So I think it's always important to give back and show up in that space as someone, because people know my face a little bit in the fitness industry, and it's good. I think it's important for me to show my face and do the work versus just putting up posts about who should support things. I like to be involved in the community as well, and help support in any way I can. And this really aligns with what I do. Not that I don't support other things that align with fitness, but this is 100% kind of fitness based. You have to ride your bike 100 kilometers a day. So it really aligns with who I am as a person.
So Stiva, staying with yourself, what was the most challenging part about being part of Canada's Ultimate Challenge?
The most challenging part was not getting to do a whole bunch of stuff. But feeling worthy in the space as well. Like I'm an OG cast member, an original cast member. I think all the things that happened for me in my head during the course of what we've seen so far on CBC and CBC Gem, the cast never made me feel that way. Production never made me feel that way. It was just something internally that was hard to come to terms with. You get this once in a lifetime opportunity, and by the means of no one's control, it just kind of got pulled away from me. But once again, I try not to sit in a space of what's happening to me is what can I do with what's happened to me. So I've got a lot of exposure from the show, and people have asked me things about like the bike rally, which is kind of what I hoped would happen from the show. Like for me, when you get lifted up, what you should do is lift other people up. So the fact that I've gotten a little bit of exposure, even though it's been a minimal, people ask me questions, what can I do with it to lift other people up in this world? So that's what my goal was, I think, being on the show. And I think I'm doing the best I can with what happened to me.
Dustin, most challenging part about being part of Canada's Ultimate Challenge?
What's coming to mind for me right now is the lack of team consistency. Episode 1, I was with one team. Episode 2, I was with half a new team. Episode 3, I got another team player, in the switch. So, my team dynamic was consistently changing. And I have a really tough personality to, for some people to understand. And it's unfortunate, but it is true sometimes. And I think that I just never really got to bond in a way that could have been more beneficial. So I think that was a challenge for me. It was to, constantly be welcoming new team members and, build trust with them, because we were constantly like COVID, the team shuffle that happened in episode 3. So that for me was really challenging to then work with new personalities coming in.
And M, most challenging aspect about being on Canada's Ultimate Challenge?
Yeah, definitely. The challenges were extremely challenging. And as Dustin was saying, just pushing me to a new level that I'd never gone to. I puked in my mouth at one point. I was absolutely gassed after some of these events, and just knowing that I could push myself to that level and be okay was very cool. But also because it was a team competition show, it was very challenging to sit back and not be in some of these challenges, and to watch your teammates compete, and you feel kind of helpless, but you support them, you try to strategize and do the best you can as a cheerleader. But it was definitely challenging to sit there and feel like I couldn't help my team anymore because I just wasn't in the challenge. So yeah.
So Em, staying with yourself, best part about being part of the show?
Oh, it's just so much. Like, it was just, when we say it was an experience of a lifetime, it truly was. Just everything about it was so cool. It was an experience we had never had before. To see how all of the cameras and how the show worked was incredible. And, being able to travel all over Canada and do these super fun events with, all these people that you have so much in common with, but you just met. It was just, everything about it was so much fun, and I just had the best time.
And Dustin, best part about being part of the show?
Was to see the diversity and fierceness of 26 unique and absolutely incredible individuals. It was so cool to see everybody and their adversity and their perseverance, and to be able to do these challenges in these iconic spots in Canada that people will never get to do, challenges created that nobody else will ever get to try again. That's just so cool to me. And it was an opportunity of a lifetime, and I am so grateful for the experience, and it was a lot of fun.
Stiva, best part?
The best part was getting to meet new people and have new friends. I followed online, and I got to be on a show with him. Dustin, I didn't really know that well. Then when we got to that room the first day, we're like, what are you doing here? We figured we were both on the cast, and we got to know each other really well. I think the best part for me personally is that as I've gotten older, I have a tendency not to make friends very easily because I feel like I have enough friends. But really what the show taught me is that I'm vulnerable enough to open myself up to meet more people. And now I have a plethora of more friends across the country. So it taught me that I still have space for people, to make space for people in my life.
Well said. To all of you, well said, well done, well challenged, so to speak. Stiva, Dustin, Em, thank you all for your time. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for the opportunity, Mark. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
And don't forget to watch Canada's Ultimate Challenge on CBC and CBC Gem on Thursdays at 8 p.m.
Well done. Like Stiva said during our interview, Canada's Ultimate Challenge airs Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on CBC and CBC Gem. And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, head over to marktara.com, where everything is connected, and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, check out my socials at Mark Tara. The podcast for Rainbow Country is available on all major platforms, including audible.com and iHeartRadio. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, we are living in days of making dreams come true. So believe in yourself, and the world will believe in you.
Hi, this is Police Constable Danielle Botno, also known as LGBT Cop, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara